I really wanted to share this personal individual experience of mine because looking back, I think it's really funny, and people have been talking about early internet, early 2010s nostalgia. And as somebody who's been on the internet since I was a kid and since the literal start of the 2010s, I think I have a very interesting perspective on it. Specifically, I was really big on Instagram. That was my go-to social media app. So I compiled a list of things that I wanted to talk about, to see if anybody else had any similar experiences, because I couldn't have been the only one who was a part of this kind of Instagram community. So growing up, the only social media that the general public was used to was Facebook. That was the one big thing that people had in the late 2000s was Facebook. And my mom saw that as like an adult social media, so she was like, no, you can't have a Facebook account. But then when Instagram came out, I kind of advertised it as Facebook, but like for younger people, and she bought into it and she let me get an Instagram account, with the exception that my friend's mom also would have an Instagram account and she would follow me to make sure I wasn't posting anything too inappropriate or crazy, right? And this was also accompanied by like the occasional like just phone checks in general, just making sure that I wasn't being weird on the internet or like talking to people. But my mom wasn't very tech savvy, so she didn't really understand how Instagram worked at all or what it was even about, besides just taking photos and sharing them to people you know. She didn't understand the whole other aspect of it. Um, so she also didn't know that I could make a separate account and only show her the account that was public. So when I was feeling rebellious at the ripe age of 13, I created a separate Instagram account where I would post without anybody in my real life knowing it was me, like Hannah Montana. And I became a part of what I consider to be the Tumblr trickle down effect. They were all people who either were on Tumblr or should have been on Tumblr, but for whatever reason they were stuck using Instagram. You might be asking, why didn't you just have a Tumblr account? Why didn't you just get Tumblr? And it's because everyone in my family used the same iCloud account. We all had the same Apple account. So if I downloaded an app, it would show up in the history, and sometimes it would even be downloaded on my like dad's phone. So he would be like, what the fuck is this app? And he'd open it up and there would be like gay porn on his timeline or something like that. So I wasn't gonna risk it. And also my brother was going through his alt-right phase at that point, so he was like a 4chan user, so he would have bullied me heavily if I got a Tumblr account. So instead of getting a Tumblr account, I just used my Instagram like a Tumblr account and followed accounts that reposted everything from Tumblr. Like, I mean, literal accounts dedicated to just reposting text posts from Tumblr. So I was still in the know, I was still using Tumblr lingo and verbiage, but I wasn't actually a part of Tumblr. And there was a lot of overlap and a lot of similarities between blogging on Instagram and blogging on Tumblr, but I think there was a few key differences just because of the way that the interface of the apps worked. For example, the tagging was a little bit different. I remember I once got like dogpiled and shit on because I was using hashtags to signal to people everything that I liked, so that when people were looking through those tags and my account would pop up, they'd be like, oh, I know that this person likes this band, so I will go to their account and I'll follow them. Except people would get pissed at me because they'd be like, why the fuck did you tag My Chemical Romance under this post that's clearly about 5 Seconds of Summer? And I would be like, I'm just trying to advertise my account to people. I just want people to come find my account. Like, this is my all like general interests that I'm advertising to the world, and I want them to know that I like everything listed. Looking back, I understand why they were frustrated, but it was a very common thing for people to do, was to make a post, make a separate comment with a paragraph of tags of everything that they might possibly like or talk about on that account. And I remember trying to come up with a bio that would somehow fit every single one of my interests in it. And at some point it became like incomprehensible. Like, you literally would read my bio and you'd be like, what the fuck? Like, it was a whole bunch of nothing. And I remember it was also like my edgy, kind of sarcastic humor phase where I tried to be like quirky and cool and different by like making my bio be like some socially awkward like joke on myself where I was like, I trip walking up the stairs, try to top that, except the top this is actually humiliating. This is actually humiliating. Except top was spelt like 21 Pilots with like the O with the strike through it. Like actually humiliating. So it was like a secret signal to like other 21 Pilots fans that they would read my bio and they'd be like, oh, she's so cool and quirky and also she likes 21 Pilots. That's a whole other story because I was big in 21 Pilots and especially the 21 Pilots fan art community. And there was a lot of really weird shit happening and going down there. There was this one person who made like personas of all the albums. And she made like a drawing, like, I don't want to actually bring it up. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. It was weird. It was a weird time being on Instagram before Blurry Face dropped. We were just doing whatever. Everyone treated Instagram like it was their own kind of personal blog where all of the usernames were like, hey, it's Kate, or hi, it's KK, or it's me, KK. Like, it was all stuff like that. And if you couldn't snatch that username before somebody else, then you would have to add underscores and X's and like periods in the name. And it was like a fight to the death. Like, I remember having somebody reach out to me because it became a trend at one point to just have like a one word as your whole username. And my art account, which I still have, I don't use, was called Indications. Like, just straight up Indications. And I had somebody go out of their way to message me being like, that would be such a cool brand name, you should give me your username. And I was like, no. I was like, it's my username and I got here first. And I was on aesthetic Instagram community. So I needed an aesthetic Instagram username because I was competing with other people. I was competing with rib cages spelt with a Q, okay? I had to fight my way up there, okay? It was really intense. People did not play about their themes. Oh my god, everything was about the theme and everything had to fit the theme and you had to make your theme stand out, but it also couldn't be too avant-garde because people just wanted regurgitated Tumblr themes. So it was typically black and white, or you pick a filter, or you pick a border, and you went with it. Everything had to line up perfectly on the grid. It was really intense. Like, you would have to plan ahead for what you were going to post. And I was really bad at doing that, so I switched themes a lot. And I would have to delete every single post I made before they brought in the archive feature. So I lost a lot of my old posts because I switched themes. Follow trains were really big. I don't think this was something that existed on Tumblr. I'm not sure. I don't hear people talk about it, but like on Instagram, there would be these bigger accounts that would host follow trains. So it would be like the name of the account, follow train, and it was a hashtag. And while the follow train was still active for, usually it was a day, a couple hours, however long it was, you would post something, put that hashtag, and everyone who went through that hashtag would like that, and you would follow their account and they'd follow you back. But some people added their own stipulations and rules where they would be like, I'm not following back unless you like 3x, unless you like a row of pictures, or unless you comment 3 times, because they didn't want inactive or ghost followers, as they would call it. They'd call it ghosties too. And they'd also do unfollow trains. So like they would cleanse out their following list where they would go through and anyone who was inactive or hadn't liked their post in a while, they would remove as a follower. They'd like block and unblock them. And they'd go through and then they'd be like, comment if you survive the unfollow train. And I would comment every time. I wanted to be a big account so bad, and I think the closest I got was like 1.2k or something like that. And I think a majority of them were ghost followers because my interactions on my post would get like 15 likes max. It was really bad. I also remember during these follow trains, people would be like, oh, I was hacked at 50K and stuff like that, like trying to make you feel bad that they once had a bunch of followers and now they don't. Um, People were definitely lying about being hacked. You are not hacked. I never bought followers, but that was a thing. Is you would just, you know, get scammed into paying for followers, and all of those followers were like sock puppet accounts essentially. And they wouldn't be actual like real people. Most people know about this, but the copy pastas that went around circa 2011, 2012 of like a really creepy picture, and you'd have to repost it or else you would die tomorrow or something like that, or your whole family would die, or you'd get blown up or some shit like that. There's one I think that was like, hi, I'm Emily, I died in 2005, I'm gonna come into your room tonight if you don't repost this. um and shit like that, to like fearmonger children into reposting it. But the funny thing is that everyone would either put a filter on it or just have a different type of phone, so sometimes the photo would get really grainy. So after being reposted like 50 times, the photo was just absolutely fried. Like, it was so ridiculous. Or like those infinite screenshots where like you would screenshot it and like add something to it, like an emoji or your signature or a drawing or something, and somebody else would have to screenshot it again, and it would create like this like illusion tunnel effect of like an endless screenshot. It was stupid and ridiculous, but I mean, like, that's how we kept ourselves entertained at the time. And before Snapchat was a thing, and before stories was a thing, we had Instagram spam accounts or Finstas. And these were the accounts that you could go off theme and you could like actually post yourself for real. And they weren't like planned or aesthetic photos. They were literally like a photo of someone's fucking crock, or a photo of them eating, or a photo of them crying with the caption, sorry, I had to clear my throat there, or a photo of them crying with like the caption, don't hit me up. Don't hit me up, I'm going through a lot. Or I'm so fucking sick of people. So that people would pity comment and ask them what was wrong. And they'd be like, DM. They would always tell you in the DMs. They always wanted to tell you in the DMs. But these accounts were the accounts where you could like actually be yourself. You know, they were not meant for the aesthetic blog, okay? And I kind of appreciated that, like at the time, that you could have a full mask off kind of moment in the comfort of your own private network of people. Most of the time these accounts were private. Sometimes they'd be really gatekeepy about it. They'd be like, I'm selectively following back people. I might accept you. Don't get mad if I don't accept you. It's only close friends. Okay. You're 15 and you have 3 followers. Or when an account would get too big, they would create a new account to start from scratch, except most of their previous followers would just go to the new account and follow them anyways. I don't know. The logic didn't really make sense to me. They'd be like, I miss my small community. My account's gotten too big now. And I'm like, what the fuck do you mean? Maybe it's because I've never been a big account and that's why I don't understand it. It was also common to put celebrities, and when I say celebrities, I mean like celebrities for the 2010s times. So like YouTubers, makeup artists, influencers of the sort, Viners. You would put whoever you were noticed by in your bio. It would be like Shane Dawson noticed 3x, Leasebug commented 1x. You're 13. Adults are commenting and looking at your profile. You need to call the cops. You need to call the police. Most of them were harmless interactions just between a fan and whatever micro celebrity they liked. But in recent years, people in fandom spaces were talking and being like, hey, looking back, why was I DMing with the lead guitarist of this group when I was 14? Like, that's weird, right? And everyone was like, yeah, no, that's strange. Why were you talking to that guy? Everyone wanted to be a groupie when they were like 14 years old and they didn't understand the implications of it. So we would brag about getting noticed and getting social recognition from grown-ass adults. Scary times. This is where it starts to get niche. there was these like photo competition accounts that were definitely run by like 10-year-olds, where the one that I participated in was like a pet photo contest. And you would be like, if you think you have the cutest pet ever, send us a photo and we will do a versus against other people's pets. So like, of course I sent in a photo of my dog, so I'm like, my dog is definitely the cutest, and it was a grainy ass photo taken on my iPod, and it would be put in a grid with like other animals, and people would comment which one they wanted voted out. So it was like a total drama island, like kicked off the island kind of scenario where people would vote for whichever pet they thought was the cutest, and the prize was like bullshit, like a shout out. And if you know what a shout out was, that's when they take a screenshot of your profile, they post it on their account, and they say, go follow. Not guaranteed followers coming from that, by the way. It was just the thought that counted. And they would also do this with like selfies too. Like people would like be in a beauty contest essentially. Literal children like submitting photos of themselves. And sometimes they would try to catfish as other people, and it would be really obvious to the point where like the account owners of the contest would be like, guys, please stop submitting photos of Bethany Moda. We know it's not you. It's like stuff like that. I think catfishing was a big thing at that time, and that leads into my next story, because this is actually crazy deep niche lore that I don't think anybody like remembers or experienced unless you were part of the Instagram spam community in 2016, 2017. There was this account called Clownspiracy. I think his name was Daniel or Danny or something like that. And now I was a fan of clowns at that time. I was big in my clown arc, something people who know me know me. So I was big in my clown arc. So I had a username that also had the word clown in it, right? At that time. So I ended up following him, and he was big in the spam community because people thought he was hot or whatever. I don't know. It was like mysterious in I think there was still like a mysticism around like boys on social media at that time, where it was like, oh my gosh, a boy influencer, a boy in fan spaces instead of a bunch of nerdy girls. What? So we were like just really excited to finally have, I guess, some testosterone in the space. I don't know. I don't understand the fascination, but at the same time I do. Anyways, that's besides the point. So Clownspiracy was this spam account user who would occasionally like crash out and like delete all of his posts or something, and then he'd come back like 2 days later and be like, sorry, like I had BPD or something like that, and we'd be like, okay, you don't have to disclose that information to us or explain that to us at all. We're strangers on the internet and we're all 15. Anyways, then randomly one day he got like exposed for catfishing, and the actual owner of the account was a girl who was using pictures of her classmate to pose as Danny, Clownspiracy. And it was like wild. It was a wild realization. The account was down within hours. There was like no traces of it left. And anytime I try to research this topic or look it up or verify if that whole account was actually real and not a fever dream, I find nothing. Like I can't find anything on it. It's like I'm the only one who was a part of this simulation. It was crazy. Because it was like such a big account. Like everybody in the spam community knew who Clownspiracy was. They were like one of the top people. There was like micro celebrities in the spam community, and he was one of them at one point. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, actually this is a catfish, and it was gone, wiped from the earth. And I have logged back into my Instagram account and like gone through the following list and clicked on a few accounts to see like, you know, what they've been up to, if they're still active. Most of them, if not all, are inactive, but occasionally I'll click on a spam account and they'll have an update from like 2019 where they're like, hey guys, I'm like an adult now and like I'm chilling and like I'm gonna keep this account up for my own like archive purposes, but I'm never gonna post here again. Okay, see you later, bye. And it's like kind of sweet, but also like kind of strange to like see someone's youth documented in real time just so random. And we were all doing it so willingly. Like, we had no self-preservation, we had no concept of like internet safety. Like, we just willingly would share our lives in every part of our lives with these strangers. Another core memory of mine was being exposed to mentally ill parts of the Instagram community and commenting under their posts believing that I could save them. It was really bad. I think people have talked about their experiences with like a much older internet friend going through like a mental health crisis and you being like 13 years old and trying to talk them off a ledge for some reason. Like, it was one of those kind of experiences. And I truly did think I was like gonna be their savior. I really did. There were these accounts that would post videos of like internet besties or long distance besties meeting for the first time, and I would watch them as if they were like fathers coming home from war to see their kids. Like, it was, to me, that shit was serious. We were in deep, and I was so jealous, and I wanted an internet bestie so bad. And they'd specifically have accounts where you like fill out applications, and they like post your profile. So think of like Tinder, but for like people who are chronically online and have no friends. Stuff like that, where they'd post your public profile, and if you were interested, you would reach out to that account and you'd be like, let's be friends. And also during the, what do they call that? The British pandemic? No. British fever? I don't know. Whatever it was, that time when One Direction was really big, and also Dan and Phil was really big, and BritTube was really big, Super Hulock, that kind of era. There was an obsession with British accounts in general. Maybe this is just personal on my end, but like, you got extra cool points on the internet if you had a British accent. And people would like specifically like freak out and like fangirl over people who were British. And they would like comment being like, can you upload a video of you talking? Like, that was like a literal thing of people being like, oh my god, I got requested to like make a video saying these words because I'm British, and Americans think that that's so funny and cool. I think it was to the point where I think a lot of people pretended to be British when they weren't. Like, looking back, I'm now thinking about it, I'm like, there's actually no way you guys were all British. There's no way you guys were all being truthful about your origins. Some of you were probably from Pennsylvania. Everyone had a pet Instagram account for their dog or cat because they thought that it would blow up like Boo did. You know Boo the Pomeranian? Like that. Like, they were convinced that their dog was the cutest dog ever, and that if they made a separate Instagram account, everyone would want to go follow it. And it never happened. And you can find these relics still, which I think is really funny, is that people make their own dedicated accounts to their pets thinking that people give a shit. I'm here to tell you they don't. Don't make a separate account for your pet unless your pet is like a savant. This was kind of in the spam community, but I don't remember her name. It's like on the tip of my tongue. For the girl who wore the Spider-Man bodysuit and would like dance to song requests that people would comment. You know? The username was like Spidey Man or something like that. That point in particular I want to bring up because that kind of humor and content lives on at TikTok. It's still very active over there. People still do that shtick of like dancing to requested songs, or like being silly on the internet by wearing a silly costume and dancing to music. I think that's like a form of art that people will always want to see. They will always find that entertaining. DMing people fan art, that was like a thing. Like, anybody out there that you would follow and like, it was like a thing being like, I have to draw them and I have to give it to them. And so you officially made it as a micro influencer if people were making fan art of you or were catfishing your face, essentially. I remember specifically in like the Tumblr aesthetic Instagram community, it was a big thing, those like line arts. You know what I'm talking about? Where it would be just like a black outline or a black like ink sketch of a selfie or something like that. And people would commission you and they'd be like, you know, $5 for me to make your profile picture with this line art that is clearly just me tracing over it with black marker in literally any app ever. Um, and that was a big thing, and that used to kind of make me mad because I'm like, that kind of doesn't take any artistic skill at all. Like, you're quite literally just tracing over their selfie with a black marker. You're not adding any highlights or dimension. Like, it's literally just a simple, like, minimalist line art thing. But it was considered aesthetic and simple, and it fit their black and white theme, so whatever. I think some of the biggest Instagram accounts didn't post original content. Most of them were like Twitter repost accounts. Like the account Fuck Jerry, which if you don't know that account, I'm sure you do. You've got to know that account. And he got in a big controversy because I think he was just stealing people's tweets and his account was monetized. So he was receiving money from essentially tweets that weren't his. He would just recycle old tweets. He'd tweet them like they were his own, and then he had a separate Instagram account where he'd repost everything that he posted on Twitter, and he'd also get money from that account. So, and there was so many of these sock puppet accounts going around. Like there was a Dory one, there was like some other one that was like girl tweets, girl feelings, I don't know what the fuck it was. But it was essentially people running farms of these accounts that just stole tweets and reposted them on every platform ever. Some other very specific niche things that I remember on Instagram was this one account called Breeze Blockin', and she named her account after the Alt J song. And she was one of those like aesthetic theme accounts where I think she also had a Tumblr, and maybe it was just the same content posted. I'm not sure. When she got older, she decided she didn't want to post on Instagram anymore because she probably had like a life and friends. So she was like, yeah, I'm gonna leave this account, and also I kind of don't feel attached to like this username anymore. Like at one point this song really helped me through a hard time, but like, you know, I'd rather just post on my personal account with my personal name and stuff because like I identify more with that than I do with this account that was kind of just a curated vibe essentially. And I don't know, I thought that was really cool, but I also was kind of mad because I'm like, you're giving up this account with a really cool name and you're not letting anybody else take over your account, and you're also not selling it, you're just gonna leave it up. Weird. Because at that time it was like a big thing. Like they put a lot of emphasis on how cool your username was. And if you had a cool username, you couldn't put it to waste. It was like a common thing to like switch over account users or like give your account away if you didn't want to post on anymore, simply because people didn't want to go through the trouble of trying to find a new better username. You know what I mean? People do like whole account giveaways where they're like, hey, I don't want to run this account anymore. DM me if you're interested and I will pick one person and stuff like that. Co-owning accounts was a big thing too, and this is kind of me lore a little bit because I did co-own an account at one point, and again, you have to remember that this was the 2010s and it was essentially Tumblr rejects all accumulated on one app. So LGBT accounts were big, where it's like there would be multiple owners and you just post and repost things about, I don't know, being gay. I don't even remember what the fuck. It was like an advocacy account, kind of. If I'm being generous, it's an advocacy account, essentially, where we post information and general like encouragement for LGBT youth. And these accounts would try to post multiple times a day, daily. So you needed a lot of owners to keep up with the rigorous schedule, right? The way the bio was set up was every person had their name and pronouns and then the emoji that they would sign off with. I'm being like dead serious too. I'm being dead serious. But I was an admin at one point for the LGBT account, and the thing is that there was so many of us, like so many accounts that were trying to do the same exact shtick. So none of us really hit it off big, and it seemed like at some point everyone just slowly fell off and stopped posting. And it was really weird because it was like just mutually agreed upon that it was like, we're not doing this anymore. Um, I think it's really funny. And I think like a few years after we completely abandoned that account, we still had some of each other's socials. So like some people reached out to me on Snapchat and was like, hey, by the way, like I'm graduating high school now. I just want to say that you guys were like one of the first people I came out to, and like this was still like a good experience for me, and like I'm glad that I was able to like meet people on the internet who were like super normal and like super chill. So it was still a good experience, but it's like the complete lack of like social boundaries was kind of crazy, where it's like we were just freely giving out our phone numbers and our all public record information to each other, like full names, like crazy stuff. There was this one account, I forget what it was called, something with aliens, maybe, and she had like purple hair, and she's probably still all over Pinterest. If you look up purple hair, you're probably gonna find a picture of her. I think the username was like alien creature or something like that, and she was like really big. Like that was like a really big Instagram account because people just thought she was like pretty and cool, which is fine, um but like everybody strived to be that kind of account that would just blow up, and that people would just be like, oh my god, the aesthetic is so good, like they have such a cool style, like I have to follow them. Like that's all people strived for. Speaking of rib cages, who was Rib Cage's dating at the time? I think she was dating like this guy named Forrest or River. No, it was definitely like River. It was something earthy crunchy like that. And he was really popular because he was an artist. He was a skinny white boy with curly brown hair, and he had a really good Instagram theme that like was like a zigzag pattern. So you would go in grid mode, and when you'd scroll through his account, it would like snake around. That was really cool, and I copied the fuck out of that. I said, I'm taking that, and I used that theme for my account. Um, but he was like a part of this like aesthetic Instagram blog friend group kind of thing, where it was like him, rib cages, and like one other account or something, where it's like they were kind of their own like cool friend group, where I think they had their own individual like fan pages, where it's like people genuinely like made edits of this guy for his Instagram account. Or like he would be shipped with rib cages and stuff. Like they had like actual fans just over having an Instagram account, which is a little bit funny to me. And the thing is, I have no idea where he is today. I stopped using Instagram pretty regularly in like 2023, 2022, honestly. Like it just got to a point where I was like, oh my god, my hair. It just got to a point where the only reason I was posting was fear of people like forgetting about me, or I would like miss something super important. And I'd started using Twitter more regularly around that time too, so I just kind of swapped out my main social media. So there's definitely a lot of lore that I missed out on from Instagram during that time. I briefly remember being on Instagram during COVID era because I remember stories being introduced, and that was kind of a game changer because then people didn't have to like make their own separate spam accounts. They could just do photo dumps on stories and stuff like that. But I like honestly have not been active on Instagram. I'm trying to change that because I want to have a little bit of a presence on the internet. Oh, I know, heaven forbid. But a few years ago when I was cleaning out one of my Instagram accounts, I had gone through my following list and I recorded this video of like just me scrolling through an old account that I used to follow and stuff like that, and just seeing everything dated back to like 2015, and like this is a pretty solid picture of what it was like to be me at this age and be scrolling on Instagram. This is exactly the kind of stuff you would see. This is the content that I was consuming. And listen, even if they were realistically to have gotten hacked, they probably got hacked because they were trying to buy followers and they gave their login info away to some compromised site. That's how they got hacked. They were giving their information out. I'm trying out a new lighting feature. I'm not sure if it makes me look like too red or too crazy in the face. Okay, if you made it this far, please tell me your favorite memory of being on Instagram as a kid, to make me feel better about being really embarrassing and cringe. And everybody say hi to Jungle Skog. Hi, Jungle Skog. And everybody say goodbye to Jungle Skog. Bye, Jungle Skog.